If you call him Sam again, you'll be slapped. Just so you're aware.
Don't call him Big Sam.
He's another tosser. Nah, I don't mind Sam Allardyce.
But I mean,
they came back from 2-0 down. That's, against Stoke.
Aye, but going back to Southampton, I mean, it's a very impressive job Koeman's doing there. That's what 7 or 8 wins. Yeah.
You know, we talked about this the last podcast about Van Gaal being a 90s manager. Koeman isn't like, he's a guy who will do well. See, Koeman's going to get to a point where he's going to run out of ideas. Like, see, because everything's going well just now, he just lets it flow, and that's absolutely the right thing to do. But when it comes to the big decisions, and if Southampton are going to have to rely on him to change things, I just don't think he's a very good manager. I think he's fallen on his face too many times. So, I mean, we'll see. Because Steve Davis is playing really, really well for Southampton. And I remember him in his last couple of seasons for Rangers. He was dire. He was really, really terrible.
I mean, I think one of the Southampton are getting a lot of credit, obviously, because they've done so well and they lost so many other players. But, you know, guys like Wanyama and Schneiderlin, you know, they kind of weren't so much in the limelight last season when you had guys like Lallana there, etc. But they were... I think we all knew that they had a lot of talent, and they've just come to the fore this season, and I'm quite pleased to see that. Do you know what I mean? But as you say about Koeman, I know exactly what you mean, and it's going well just now. But
we'll see where they are in March.
Yeah,
is his brother has an assistant manager?
He is, yes, he is. Newcastle beat Liverpool. There's how mental this is. There's been talk that there's going to be a protest against Brendan Rodgers at the next home game.
Who said that?
There's just talk on Twitter that there's a fan movement to get rid of him.
I thought you were going to go with the fact of there's now Newcastle fans out with banners saying Pardew in.
Is there?
How the transfer? I'm sure I've seen one of them with Pardew in.
That's
and it's how a transformation.
I love that. That's terrific. But it's just shows how fickle football fans really are.
But it's crazy. It's done for four wins in the trot. And now that's them into the top half of the table. That's just how. If you get yourself a couple of games of a run, that just gets you right out of the mire, and that's you.
Newcastle are 2 points off 6th. That's just shows how tight.
Who have they got at the weekend? Who have they got at the weekend?
At the weekend, they have. Let me just tell you, Ciaran Harran. Newcastle have.
They're away.
They're away to West Brom, though. I mean, that's a winnable fixture.
So, I mean, another 4 league wins in a row, and that puts them up into 6. And that'll be it. Totally forgotten about.
It's Liverpool-Chelsea this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
If Liverpool lose that, that's another game. You know, I mean, I'm not. You know, I think anybody talking about getting rid of, you know, we've talked about, you know, the fact that maybe they haven't replaced the players they lost, but how can you replace Suarez? And there are a lot of deficiencies there. But to talk about getting rid of Brendan Rodgers at this point is just ridiculous, isn't it?
It's pathetic. Given that last season, I know they could have won the title, but given that last season they would have, at the start of the year, they'd have been delighted if they had been challenging for 4th position. Really,
absolutely.
Now, the fact is that they aren't that far off the. Okay, they aren't too far off the pace. It's a similar situation in Newcastle. See if they put a couple of wins together, they're right in the contention again for Champions League space.
Yeah,
it's pathetic that they're looking to get rid of that guy because Liverpool completely overachieved last season, and that was down to Rodgers and Suarez, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and it's moronic to question the guy. Do you know what? They might have a poor season this season, but in terms of development and building, I think they'd be crazy to get rid of Rodgers.
I think it would set them back by some distance. It's just ridiculous. Again, it comes back to the spoiled expectancy level of football fans these days. You know, we almost won the league this season, and it's October, and we're, you know, they're 7th, but they're only 3 points off Arsenal. They're only 4 points off. They're 6 points. To be fair, they're 6 points off Man City, but they're only 4 points off Arsenal. I mean, it's one game. You know what I mean? One victory for them and one loss.
They shouldn't be blaming Rodgers anyway. They should be blaming that cannibal. Suarez.
That
for
cannibal.
being such a no.
Genuinely no idea who you were talking about.
I thought he meant somebody from popular 80s hit combo Fine Young Cannibals.
In fact, he's driving me crazy, etc. Terrific band. Terrific.
Jimmy Somerville?
No. He wasn't in the Fine Young Cannibals.
Was he not?
No. Shut up.
He was in Bronski Beat.
Oh, just embarrassing.
Right, I'm googling it. He was in them, was he not?
No, he wasn't. Oh, you're just embarrassing yourself, Sermanni. Anyway, so I mean, anything else from England that impressed you this weekend? Arsenal beat Burnley quite convincingly. Everton drew with Swansea. It's funny because Chris, you made the point that you think Martinez gets away with a lot of stuff. Like he doesn't get the criticism, that he deserves. They're doing okay, but they aren't actually. They've not set the header alight this season, have they?
Jimmy Somerville wasn't in the Fine Young Cannibals, but they did have additional vocals on one of their songs. Right, there we go. That's fine. Yeah, Martinez. He, I think you're exactly right. I think I've said it time and time again before. His philosophy buys him a lot of credit when it's perhaps not due.
Yeah.
Where are they in the table just now?
They are currently they're 9th, but I mean,
how many games have they lost?
15th and 3rd. 15th and 9th. There's only 2 points.
How many games he's lost? Have they not drawn an awful lot of games, Everton?
Everton have lost. They've lost 3 games, and they've drawn 4.
Well,
they've only won 3 games this season.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, nobody's questioning Martinez's position.
Yeah.
Now, last season, I know they kind of they done well, and they were kind of thereabouts challenging for a Champions League position, but they spent big money on Lukaku.
£30 million, didn't they?
Do you know? I mean, that's huge money for them, and I quite like Lukaku, but he ain't been the man to take them forward.
No.
I don't know. I think Martinez just goes under the radar because he plays nice stuff.
He's a nice guy as well.
He's a nice guy. Everton's a side that, that they've got expectations, but they don't have delusions of grandeur. So I think he'll just kind of tick by. Whereas I think sometimes he should be questioned, especially as his approach to the game. It's kind of rigid. He won't kind of change his tactics, which some people like, but sometimes I think you need to adapt.
Pragmatic is the word you're looking
Pragmatism,
for.
Christopher.
Pragmatism. Yes. Ciaran, before we kind of move on, Real Sociedad, David Moyes, match made in heaven. It's a big link today.
Is it?
David Moyes to Real Sociedad. Sociedad are currently 19th in the league. Thoughts? Do you think he would do good in Spain?
No idea. To be honest.
Great insight there.
I don't care,
yeah.
says Ciaran.
I mean, if Chris Coleman can go and do a bit of a job for Sociedad, then I think there's hope for Moyes there.
I think Moyes is a terrific coach. I think he knows how to get the best of players. Germany, I think, would have suited him better.
I think it's going to be a club, but there's not going to be a real heavy lot of pressure than there is succeeding Sir Alex Ferguson at Man United.
Yeah.
That was the problem.
Aye.
But a lower team with lower budget like at Everton, what he done, but then with Everton he did that over 10 years. I can't really remember his first few years how it was, if it was good or not. But I mean, will he have time in Sociedad? I'm not really too sure. But
he had a very good first season, I believe, and then he had a poor second season.
Yeah, I think
like Rodgers.
It's one of those where if he levelled out to like his average finishing was like position to finish was like 6th or 7th, which is pretty damn good. And he got them into the Champions League qualifiers. Now they didn't get into the Champions League, but they got them into the qualifiers. And a team like Everton at that point was ridiculous. Barcelona lost. I watched that over the weekend. Marek was gutted. They had a lot of chances. They just Celta Vigo, terrific finish. Did you see the Celta Vigo goal?
I didn't see any of the Spanish games at the weekend. No.
Just a terrific, very good goal. Real Madrid just look pretty hard to beat.
See, when at the start of the season, I know Man United, Barcelona, did they win their first however many games? I can't remember. Was it
7 or 8? I think.
Yeah.
7.
They've lost 2 and drawn 1.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far to say the wheels are coming off, but I think when we seen in the El Clasico game, I think we saw that difference in quality. I think some of their top performers aren't performing anymore, whether that be age or lack of form.
Xavi being what?
Xavi, I mean,
Iniesta's performed poorly just now as well.
Yeah, these guys have been performing at a top level for a long time, and given the squad that Real Madrid have, if they just dip a little, it's really marked in their performance. They won't be able to compete with with Madrid at that level anymore. I think there's going to come a time where I think Barcelona over the next few years are probably going to slip a wee bit more as they replace these guys. Similar to what happened with Madrid, that you can't stay up there forever.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. But
do you think, one quick question, with Suarez, do you think it's a too many cooks scenario?
I don't know. I think Suarez might be a good player for them. I think Suarez is a great player, but I do not think he's not got the ego of somebody like Ibrahimovic, for instance. I think he'll take a supporting role, whereas somebody like Ibrahimovic wouldn't do that.
It's funny because Ibrahimovic is a guy who probably, again, and I love Ibrahimovic because he's a bit mental. That's a crazy on goal by Wes Brown, by the way. If he just rattles it in. Check out the Palace.
A Wes Brown classic.
Oh, look at the keeper, goes mental.
But with Suarez and Barcelona, is that not more of a perfect fit for him? Because they not play very, very similar to Ajax, where they have the kind of three across the front, and he used to work in the right, didn't he, for Ajax?
Yeah,
and cut in and scored a lot of goals. So
I'm not saying he won't be successful. What I'm saying is there is a chance that it could go tits up, just because the Barcelona are maybe going through this period just now where there is a bit of a transition, and they're trying to maybe as Chris says, Xavi's not the player he was. He's build, and Iniesta's going through a bad ton of form. Having said that, they are creating chances.
They're bringing Rakitic as well, which
Rakitic
is helping the midfield.
He's been good. I've not watched a lot of La Liga. I'm just getting this from Marek, but he started very well, but he was rubbish in the El Clasico. He actually pretty much cost the goal, and he didn't perform too well at the weekend. But he is a terrific player overall. Yeah,
Rakitic. I've seen him play really well for Barcelona at points this season. But last year with Seville, the entire team was built around him, and I think he's the type of player that revels in that. I don't think he's going to be as effective as he was for Seville.
Yeah,
it looks like Seville aren't missing him anyway, because they messed up a chance to go top at the weekend because they get beat.
But they're still only 2 points off Real Madrid, though. You know what I mean? We'll finish with Serie A, because we're big fans of Serie A. Empoli 0, Juventus 2 is how we'll start. Morata, he scored an absolute cracker. Pirlo scored a free kick, and Morata scored an absolute cracker. What are your thoughts on Morata as a player, as a striker?
I've never been particularly impressed by him. I know there was a lot of potential there when he was at Real, but I thought it was a big risk from Juventus.
Yeah,
in signing him. I don't know. I really don't know. I didn't actually see the goal.
It was a tremendous finish.
No, I've heard it was excellent. I don't know if he's going to kick on. He's going to be a good player. I thought it was a strange move. I did think it was a risk in terms of Juventus have got obviously Tevez up front, who's a terrific player. Llorente, who
is not playing well at all.
No,
this season.
He really isn't. But you think that they would have had the thing. They came out and said during the week that Falcao said he wanted to sign for Juventus.
Really?
But they couldn't afford them.
Well, he's on 300 grand a week, isn't he? So there aren't many clubs that can afford that.
No, certainly not. Obviously,
and we know how tight it is in Italian football in terms of finances.
Mm-hmm.
With the Llorente one, though, it's just like he's never fully. Now I know he scored a few goals last season, but it's like it's never been a good fit for me.
He's a bit. I don't know. It reminds me a bit of Dzeko, as in 1 week he can look fantastic, the next week he looks as if he's never seen a football in his life. I liked him at Bilbao, and I thought
that was a good fit for him, though, in terms of the club and everything.
To be fair, when he was at Bilbao and he signed for Juventus, I remember thinking that's quite a clever signing. That's a good signing for them. But he's like a lot of Juventus forwards over the last few years. They've all been good. Vucinic when he was at Roma and he went there. And it just never worked. Tevez is probably the only forward they've had over the last few years that's been
consistently good.
Yeah, and he looks like a Juventus class forward, shall we say?
Yeah. A Kieran question for you: who's better, Giovinco or Maloney?
Who's taller?
Because we were talking about this at the weekend. Jovinko, obviously, him and Maloney are very similar.